with Rob Garner. He is past president of the DFW-SCM, as well as a person that has been in the digital space for quite some time. Rob, talk about how you got into digital marketing.
Yeah, I started in digital marketing out of necessity back when it was basically first forming with the beginnings of the internet in the mid-1990s. Started actually, I wrote a book, and I was a musician at the time, and I slowly found out that the internet was the best way to promote my book. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't too long before I had as many digital chops as I had musical chops, and that led me into other areas, really eventually into the boardrooms of Fortune 100 level companies.
And let's talk about the other book that you wrote.
Yes, the other book that I've written is called Search and Social, The Definitive Guide to Real-Time Content Marketing. It's on Wiley and Cybex. I've spoken on 4 continents about the topic of digital marketing, and spoken many places all the way from South America, Europe, Asia, and beyond, and even Iceland. Yes, which is part of Europe. But yeah, it's been it's done very well. It's been used by many institutions, many agencies, and independent marketers to basically hone their craft on modern digital marketing techniques.
So, what is the foundation of your book? What is the primary meaning of what is it?
The fundamental basis of it is understanding search engines and understanding social networks and how people interact and disseminate content in those networks. And understanding these basics allows you to create your own content to basically whatever your business goal is. But there are obviously nuances. It's algorithmic and it's network based. And if you understand those 2 basic concepts, it will help you with the way you create content, determine who your audience is, where you place that content, and how that content is disseminated through these networks and engines.
Great, and you have picked up some clients because of the book. Back in August of this year, there was a hurricane in Houston. Why don't you talk a little bit about a client that you have there, and then what that because of what the client put into practice, what you have in the book, how that benefited him and what happened there. Tell us that story.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, there's a man by the name of Mr. Jim McIngvale, who runs known as Mattress Mac to people in the Houston area and now worldwide because of his efforts during the hurricane. Very fortunate to work with Mac. Actually, about a month after my book first came out, this is going back several years, and we started working together. And I helped him create his social media strategy. And Mr. McIngvale is he doesn't waste any time. And when he gets with an idea, he takes action. And I was a great client. We talked about strategy, but really he and his organization implemented the strategy that we set forth. And he used that strategy to communicate to people in the Houston area and greater Houston area during the hurricane. What amazing thing that he did was during the hurricane, he actually took in people from the Houston area into his furniture store, which is a massive operation in terms of the warehouse and the square footage on the floor. I believe it's a couple thousand square feet. Mm-hmm. And he let people sleep and stay on that furniture on the showroom floor during the hurricane. And that's part of his philosophy. It was his philosophy then. His philosophy now is to be part capitalist and part social worker. And he was that way then, and he's that way now. But we used the goal at that time was to create his own media platform. Mm-hmm. For social media, his own launch point, and he uses that to communicate to people directly in the Houston area and even to other media outlets. Media outlets pick up off of his social space now based on what he puts out there. So.
Wow.
So the next steps for digital marketing, social media, I think we're seeing a lot of things around voice. We're seeing changing interfaces. We're seeing artificial intelligence, which is taking things to an entirely new level. Machine learning. Some of the things I've talked with some engineers at some of the major engines here recently, and some of the things they reveal are honestly can be kind of scary in how fast things are moving there. In the sense that they no longer need as many humans to program and solve problems. So, but fundamentally, these things, just as I wrote in my book, are still premised on algorithms and network type structures. Those core principles will remain true, but we're definitely seeing some things in those areas around that automation and machine learning and other areas that are changing marketing as we know it.
So, what do you see as the bright, shiny object that we either need to look for or be scared of?
Well, I do think AI is certainly one of them. A lot of things are going to become automated, and we have to prepare for that. There's been a lot of talk, the futurists talk about things like universal income, and I've heard because jobs are being replaced by automation and robots. And that includes marketing. A lot of the aspects of marketing can be automated. So those are probably the biggest things that I think that we ought to be on the lookout for.
Let's talk a little bit about analytics and both social media analytics as well as search and digital marketing analytics.
Sure, what aspect?
Good, bad? Is it people practicing it? Is it a good thing that people are people doing it? Yeah.
So I will say this about social and search analytics is that it's core to understanding the people that you interact with in marketing. It's core to understanding what you're getting out of those channels. If you're not spending a lot of time, if not most of your time, trying to answer the questions that are coming from the data, then I would posit that you're not doing it right. I mean, there's a rule of thumb. Avinash Kaushik, the chief analytics evangelist for Google, has his own rule. He said a 90-10 rule, meaning you should spend about 10% of your budget on the tools needed to capture the data and 90% of your analytics budget on the brains to interpret that data and take action. And it's very, very important. Most people don't do that, even considering that Google Analytics is free. They still are not putting enough into their brains to interpret the data. But the answer a lot of times lies in the data, whether it's a social campaign, a content campaign, or a search campaign. And if you study it closely, it will help refine your marketing program and really get to the business goals you're seeking.